Welcome back. You're watching Today, and the father of alleged drug lord Bevan Loftus has commissioned a private investigation into the police shooting that left his son dead in March. Gregory Loftus, who is currently out on bail, is accusing the Hawks of running a hit squad. The Directorate for Priority Crime Investigation has rubbished these claims. eNCA senior reporter Dasen Thathiah brings us those details.
Very little about suspected gangster Bevan Loftus appears when you search his name online. Yet it's the opposite on the streets of neighborhoods in Durban South. Loftus and four others, Ryan Santos, Chase Finn, Michigan Hippolyte and Sihle Zondi, were killed during a confrontation with police in March this year. But his father, a former policeman now out on bail, says his son was nothing more than a businessman.
Who was Bevan Loftus?
Okay, Bevan Loftus is my son, 34 years old. I'm not just saying this because I'm his father. Good-natured person, always took care of the underdog, always had struggling people around him, always tried to help them progress in life. Did for the poor, ran a tow truck business for the past 7 or 8 years. He's been in the taxi business in the Directorate organization since 2011, I think. Yeah, so that's basically the core of his business. His name is vilified by these policemen. He was harassed in the towing industry by members of the Directorate police and of the Brighton Beach as well.
So what do you believe is the motive for what you believe was happening to Bevan? Okay, you know, there's this thing going around that Bevan's a drug dealer. Yep. Bevan's not a drug dealer. Bevan's a legitimate businessman. The amazing thing is that the actual drug dealers collude with the police and are creating this narrative. It's hard to believe, but that's actually what happened. Has Bevan ever killed anyone?
No.
And two, was he ever at any point involved in the drug trade?
No. Okay, let me say this. Not that I know of. I have no knowledge of that because as far as I see him and his lifestyle, that cannot be possible because you know the lifestyle of drug dealers. It's lucrative, it's flamboyant. I'll say this, Bevan's light bill is in arrears. That I can tell you.
He was in debt?
He was in debt. Bevan was in debt. Yes, he had taxis, he got 2 taxis, but it's a business that you have to keep putting the money back in.
In December, Bevan Loftus's name was once again at the forefront after 2 men were shot dead near the Durban Central police station.
If you say that he wasn't involved in these cases, how did he get implicated in that shooting?
Bevan was in Johannesburg. He's a businessman. He was sourcing, he's in the taxi industry, he was sourcing vehicles to purchase, and he was also evading injustice, let me put it that way, from the Hawks, Governor, Sivan Naidu, because they had been to the home and they wanted to arrest him for cases that didn't want to divulge what they were. So he was actually in Johannesburg at the time. I was in Westville that time. They'd arrested me for these cases that I'm not supposed to be arrested for because firstly it wasn't on my premises where these alleged offenses took place. He was in Johannesburg and he phoned me from Johannesburg. Well, he got a message to me, let me put it that way, that his friend, there were 2 people killed in that incident. Bevan knew both of them. One of them, they called him Sticks, Stuart, that's his nickname. He was one of Bevan's best friends, by the way. They spoke almost every day. He visited my premises regularly. I saw him as a son. The other guy was David Thomas. I know him, Bevan knows him, and the Sticks knew him. They grew up together. David was a bit older. David and Sticks, they were killed on that day.
So I hear what you're saying about him being in Johannesburg, for example. But their allegation is rather that he may not be on the scene, but he's doing this behind the scenes, so to speak.
Okay, that would be exactly what you said it is, an allegation, a guess. Yeah. In law, you work with fact and evidence, not with allegations and guesses. That's my answer to that. They have to prove that he's behind something like that. Yeah. But if it goes to court, then they have to prove that he is that person, so they must do the investigation. They should have done investigations. But with all the shootings that happened, he was never ever arrested. He could not be connected to any of those shootings.
So if we say Bevan Loftus was a businessman and he wasn't involved in these types of dealings, then you look at the company that he keeps, because those people were also implicated in other cases. Even if Bevan was being the target or you were being targeted, what is the explanation for the company that was there in the flat on the day? When you say company,
Meaning those others that were shot dead.
okay. I don't know Sihle. I don't know him at all, right? So I can't comment on that. I know Michigan. Michigan lived with me for a year when I was living in the house that Bevan's in. Bevan moved in. He's there about 2 years or so, or just over 2 years. Michigan and Chase were living with him. The reason being is because they were being targeted by the cartel gang, that's a drug gang and violent gang, that's committed a lot of murders in Wentworth. They were targeting these two youngsters because these youngsters are from the area where, in Directorate, where that chapter of the cartel operates. It's youngsters that grew up in front of me. It's youngsters that Bevan grew up with. They were being targeted because they didn't want to participate in that chapter's drug organization.
So they involved in criminal activities, those others?
No, who are you talking about now? The Chase and
yeah,
Michigan?
in Michigan,
no,
yes.
they were not involved in it. They left because they didn't want to be involved. They were targeted by these cartel members. When they're saying hits and murders, they're saying Bevan and Ryan. Sihle, as I say, I bear no knowledge of. Ryan, I believe Ryan got involved as a youngster. I don't know the details of that, but he paid his price for that. And it doesn't make him guilty of all these offenses that they're accusing him of. I didn't know Ryan. I saw Ryan once or twice, but I didn't know him to speak to. Yeah, but I can confirm that every time these things happen, I can confirm that I live next door, Bevan was at home. There was a narrative created from these cartel guys that every time they did shooting, they put it in social media that it's Bevan. And you know, if you know anything about history, if you know about Hitler and Stalin, Hitler's propaganda minister was Goebbels. And he said this, he says, if you tell a lie long enough and loud enough, people will eventually believe it. And that's what I believe that's what happened at Bevan.
The anti-gang unit pounced on Loftus's premises on the 3rd of February, looking for Bevan.
They said to me, no, the case against me is nothing, they can resolve that matter, but they want Bevan. And the attorney and I asked them, what are the charges? They couldn't say. Anyway, the bail was opposed, I went through the process, and then I came out on bail. They returned on the 3rd of February. You know, they had no cases and no dockets for Bevan. They came in aggressively, saying in vulgar, aggressive language that they're not there to arrest Bevan, they are there to kill him. In those words.
In March, police traced Loftus to this apartment block, where his life ended. There was a gunfight, they shot at police, and police shot back, and that's how they died. That's the official version of events.
Right.
So I'm asking you, what is your understanding?
Bevan was out there in the first place because when they came back the second time, they said, we saw them, Bevan saw them, and he fled. He fled in his sleeping shorts because he knew they were going to kill him the aggression that came in February, right? That's firstly how he was out there. Bevan wasn't living in his flat. I didn't know where Bevan was. Let's get that clear. I did not know. I didn't want to know. But at one stage, he was out of the province, right? Then he moved around. But he called me from time to time, but I didn't want to know where he is. Neither did my wife, neither did my family, right? He was out there. Now, let me tell you the story.
Why was that? So why didn't you want to know where he was at that time? We weren't worried about his safety, though.
I was, because the less people that knew, the better it was. So Bevan was out there. I believe that he was in that flat because he said to me, he hasn't got any money, so he had no option. That Ryan lived in that flat, from what I'm told. I'd never been to that flat besides from the day that they were killed.
Loftus claims the 5 men were executed by what he calls a hit squad.
Ryan's phone was laying there. You can see it in the picture. I don't think many people can see it. Bevan's phone was under him. When we went to clean the flat, you could see the imprint of his phone in the dry blood. Because he had just been talking to us. He was talking to people. Bevan was about to go to Joburg to buy 2 taxis to increase his fleet. So that position is a get-down position. As the neighbors say, they heard them say, get down, get down, get down. They'd repeat it often, put fear in you. I've been through it. And then another neighbor said, they heard them say, where's the money, repeatedly and loudly. Bevan and them's money for their taxis is gone. They say they found some money, but I can tell you it's not the same amount.
They said they found a lot of money in there.
They're not saying how much.
They haven't said how much.
They haven't said how much.
But they said they were in small denominations.
They haven't told me how much it was. I'm not going to say. So I want to hear what they say.
But have you made written submissions to IFOD on your concerns?
I've been communicating with the investigator. We are going to be doing it. My attorney drew up some questions and she wanted some feedback on a number of things. I haven't got back to him. He hasn't got back to me that yet.
He raised a few issues. To me, the investigation is moving very slow. We're not happy with it. As for what I've done, I know that it's foul play. We did hire a private pathologist. The report will be forthcoming soon. I hired a private ballistics expert with over 30 years experience. He's done a reconstruction. His report will be forthcoming. He's liaising with the pathologist. His report will be forthcoming soon.
Did you ever advise Bevan to say, look, it's easier if you just go to the police station or a police station of your choice and you hand yourself over and you explain yourself rather than running from the police, which at the end of the day, you'll always find yourself on the wrong end of the law if you escape police?
Yes. We had information that these guys were going to come, the Hawks were going to come, because they were signing for those 2 dockets at Belair to justify them coming to pick him up.
Yeah.
And the person that informed him about this said, do not allow yourself to be arrested. These guys are going to kill you. They've been paid to kill you.
What have you done conclusively to try to prove this? For example, there's iPad, right? So you would have, at some point, before the shooting even, could have approached them to investigate the conduct of these police officers.
Our children, and we don't want them to be in trouble. We guide them to make the right decisions. We're not there all the time. And I'm not saying Bevan's an angel that didn't do wrong things. If he did, I didn't know what they were. But I know that in the community, he was the pushover. He stood up for the underdogs. He didn't go and look for trouble. But if you brought trouble to him, he'd stand his ground. He's never shot anyone. He's never stabbed anybody. He's got a good heart. Getting back to what have I done, as far as the police are concerned, I could do nothing. As I told you, I went to the station commander, Captain Van Zyl. Couldn't help me. He told me that there's no such thing as intimidation anymore.
Gregory Loftus also has his own legal battles to fight. He's been arrested twice for allegedly impersonating a police officer and being in possession of state property. Police say he was assisting his son with information by tapping into their radio channels.
When you leave, when I've left and many colleagues of mine have left, they only take your firearm. And I've got colleagues that can confirm that, they'll verify that, and nothing else. And I've had that, I had uniforms, I've given them away. I've still got my police issue boots. I've still got my epaulets, the kids play around police games with them. I still got a cap, to name a few things. I've got the police jacket, that navy blue one. I still have the stuff.
Yeah.
So I was confused that they're arresting me for that, but I could see that that was an agenda, because the initial visit was to arrest Bevan for 2 attempted murder cases, which I established later were 1-year-old.
He's filed papers to get a CCTV hard drive returned to him. He says it'll prove his son's innocence. The drive was taken away by police as evidence.
I'm not a kingpin as in the drug world or the gang
You're
world.
alleged to be a drug lord.
I'm alleged to be a drug lord. Now let me elaborate on that. When Dane Majority was framed for his charges, they named him in the media as a Hollywood gang boss. Then Quaden Ogle was arrested, they named him as a Hollywood gang boss. I was arrested, I'm named as a Hollywood gang boss. Bevan is a Hollywood gang boss. They named Hendrik Nunes, an innocent guy, tow truck driver, as the second in charge of Bevan. That's all hogwash. Where do they get it from? They've got crime intelligence. Where's the file? Where's the file with the activities that connect me to gang activity and drug activity? My bank account is empty. My light bill is in arrears. My personal life is coming out here. My vehicle is broken. I'm walking around and taking taxis. I haven't got money to fix it. Is that the lifestyle of a gang boss and a drug lord?
The Hawks acknowledge receipt of the motion.
Our legal services are dealing with the matter. They will cooperate with all the processes. And in terms of the evidence seized during the police investigation, that evidence will be utilized for investigation purposes. Until we finalize our investigation, it will be sent back to him. I believe he is saying what is inside will assist in the investigation. We are happy about that. It will be revealed during the correct process, which is in our hands now.
The crime fighting unit has dismissed Loftus's claims of a hit squad.
We are not aiming at anyone or gunning for anyone, or trying to kill anyone in the execution of our duties. Our main aim is to bring the suspects to book. However, whilst our members are doing that, they find themselves under fire by those criminals. Then they are also authorized by Criminal Procedure Act to protect themselves. What we believe in as police, evidence is guiding us. We are not just following a person. We wake up one morning, then we think that so and so has committed this offense, then we follow. Evidence is guiding us in a form of statements, in the form of any forensic evidence that we seize on the crime scenes that we attend before we look for the suspect. So we had a watertight case against his son and his accomplices.
Mhlongo says Bevan Loftus's death was preventable.
There are a number of occasions that we can count where our members were approached by attorneys promising to hand him over, as we had a warrant of arrest against him for a number of cases. But they didn't do so up until the day in question where he was fatally shot, when police were protecting themselves. I believe they know, and he knows his son. That is why he was talking about that cannot hand him over because he will be killed in police custody. That one itself tells the South African communities what type of a son he had. But again, one will say this thing could have been avoided or prevented if he cooperated with the police when they were doing their job.
He challenges Loftus's assertion that his son was not the lesser of the flat.
As much as I cannot dwell on the issue, that's part of the investigation by independent police directorate, IP. But the evidence we have, we are sure that flat was under his name, and that evidence will be submitted to the independent police directorate.
Mhlongo says Loftus could have flagged any concerns with senior police management, but didn't.
The doors of the office of the provincial head in the Directorate for Priority Crime Investigation is always open. Even the provincial commissioner himself, his doors are always open. He should have done the right thing as an ex-police and approach these offices. Those are the highest office in the province, and report that he is not finding joy with the certain members. On top of that, we have the office in the DPCI judge. He can even approach the DPCI judge and report that I'm not finding joy in KZN because members are conducting themselves like this, like that, and present a written statement or affidavit followed by evidence of what he is saying.
Despite Loftus's belief that he was wrongly charged, the Hawks insists it has a strong case against him.
When somebody leaves the service, it is ensured that bulletproof vest and other 108 items are brought back to the state. At no circumstances where only a firearm can be taken. I can safely tell you, they take even the cleaning kit for the firearm, even the torch, your handcuffs, the handcuff keys. It is untrue what he's saying. That is a state property that he was not supposed to be in possession of. That is why he was arrested and charged accordingly. He is out on bail.
The Independent Police Investigative Directorate is probing the March shooting. It says it has not received any external complaints relating to that incident. I'm Dasen Thathiah in Durban.